and welcome to the latest episode of the Digital Access Show. Today's guest is in the digital marketing arena. He's a friend of mine. Sujit, please tell us about yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you, Nara. Thank you for inviting me over. It's an honor to be part of the show. And we met at a networking event, and even being in the digital marketing space and software and CRMs, I was not even aware there was a space for digital accessibility. I just assumed like everybody else, people who face disability don't actually go to the internet or they use other people to access all this. But when I met you is when I got aware there are people actually use the internet successfully, because I never thought somebody who had vision problems could access the internet. uh, so when I said that, oh, you access the internet and you're able to navigate, I was like, oh, I was surprised, how much
Yeah.
access you're able to go through, like, the online space and, do all those things. So, no, thank you. So, you got me opening up my eyes to the world of accessibility. I'm still learning. So, I'm still learning the process. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so where I come from is, I've got an engineering background. I come from the tech space, and then I moved into the finance space. Professionally, I was a financial planner for 7 years. So I got a lot of sales background, because a planner, you have to work on a safe, or get your own clients and manage your own clients.
Mm.
So I came to a process how I came about Pixelgram is I had a problem, like, managing my leads, my follow-ups, my referrals, because as a financial planner, we do is kept doing meetings after meetings, but there was no system where people could access me quickly, or I could do follow-ups or collect my contacts. So I built a system, with the CRM I have, and then what I did is I started creating an online profile of myself, like when I was a planner on the internet. Now,
Yeah.
when I said, like, it was on my website and it was a profile where you come to the page, it was about myself, because I care about personal branding, because when it comes to financial planners or sales professionals, it's about your personal branding first before you brand your company, because people
Mm.
buy from people.
Yep.
So I created a profile which explained more about myself, how I could help people. And then the profile was more about, okay, you come to this page, what do you want to do? Because everybody wants to speak to a person, or
Mm.
there has to be a call to action quickly. So, somebody wants to, okay, if you want to call, there's a quick button, quick access to it. If you want to book a meeting, there's a quick access to it. If you want to connect with me for later, there's a quick access. So I created something like a Linktree profile, but on your website, it's more branded to yourself.
Yeah.
And then everything that happens on that profile, unlike Linktree, it's connected to an app. So any
Mm.
processes, all that can be managed through an app. Any follow-ups can be happened to the app. So, especially people with disability, they would come to a website instead of them going to different, figuring out which page is the contact page. Just come to your own profile page, get the call to action done, and then, makes it easy to do business, or, that reduces the friction on how to do business with each other.
Yeah,
Um,
Sujit, you actually made a really good point there that I seriously have never thought about. It's,
yeah,
yeah, how do people with disability necessarily find the contact details? Because on a web page, they're normally up in the top right corner for your
yeah,
socials and your bottom right corner. Your phone
yeah,
number's normally down in the bottom left-hand corner, and then
yes,
there will be a contact us page.
that's right. So
And
it's
I know for me, I know where it is, but I've never thought about, yeah, that problem.
Yeah, correct. And and most of the websites, they just have a company page, company contact us. So it lacks personal touch, or personal
Yeah,
contact. Because everybody who comes to a website, they're more interested who's behind the website. You know,
yeah,
eh, Branding, company name, it's all secondary, right? We all want interaction with a real person,
yeah.
and how we can help, or how that person can help you. That's why I made this profile page. There's about that person there, then and there you can read, and there's call to action immediately on that page. So reduces the friction, or the time it takes to find a business, get in touch with you, and do your action. Book a meeting or contact you straight away.
So
So
it's reducing the stress, and
it,
it's
yes, so it's
efficient,
reducing the
and it's
correct.
simple.
Correct. It's reducing the friction, the time it takes from visiting the page to getting into a meeting.
Oh God. So
And
how did you do it? How did you build this page that's accessible for anyone?
um, how did I build the page? So like I was saying, so I got my idea from Linktree. So Linktree
Yeah.
is a page where, you can put different links into one page where people can access it.
Hmm.
However, Linktree, the pages you create is stuck on Linktree. It doesn't promote SEO, or, somebody searches on
Mm.
your name on the internet. It doesn't direct you to the Linktree page.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so where we come in is we are web designers or web developers as well. We create a Linktree kind of page on your on your website, and then we connect that to a CRM or to an app where then so anybody searches for your name, it goes to your profile straight away. It adds up to it's an extra web click, or
Hmm.
they can contact you. So the more people access your profile page, and it's good for the search engines as well, because especially with the webs, the Google spiders or
Yep.
Google bots, they are more interested who's the authority behind the website. They don't care about the company. They want to know who's the authority, what is your expertise. The sooner Google understands that, the sooner you get your ranking up. So that was lacking with Linktree. So I can't, how I differentiate is create a profile on your page. People can access you very quickly, get business done, as soon as possible.
So you've got Calendly links or appointment links. You've got the social media in it. You've
Yes,
got
correct.
able to ring from the page. So with accessibility,
Mhm.
did you just add some extra information onto the page in the code, or how did you do it?
With the accessibility, with your training, I know we met before, and you gave me
Mm.
some tips on. So it was about the alt text, and so again,
Yep.
it's customized. So how they want it. So with Linktree, it'll all link to their links and all. So this
Yeah.
is where we customize the button. So some people, you come to your profile, your preferences. What is your preference? Some people say call me immediately, or some people
Yeah.
will say submit a contact button, or some people say book a meeting, calendar booking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we customize the buttons, or the branding, all your colors based on your business, so that that familiarity comes in. So we give that branding to your existing business, and then
Yep.
we prioritize on what is your important call to action. So that's how we can differentiate with Linktree or
Yeah.
other companies or the other digital card providers. So it's all custom. So what is important to you, what is your client's preference. We build that custom, even the automations that go after that, like after they book the meeting or submit the form.
Yeah.
I do custom automatizations depending on your sales journey for your clients.
What benefits do you see in this with accessibility? Incorporating the accessibility, what are the benefits?
The benefit is, like I was saying, it's the reducing the friction, the time it takes to somebody to find you, to the point of interacting with you. So,
Mm.
most people when these days, with especially with the attention span, they come
Mm.
to a website, 5 seconds, and that's it. They check your about me page, check the pricing page, and that's it. So there's no quick way, or there's no, you don't make the journey easier to actually get
Mm.
in touch with the actual person. And there's no way to follow up or find about, collect the information about the customer. So I build custom pages, or with my Pixelgram, we
Yeah.
build pages where we make your customer journey as accessible as possible. And especially with your training, we can add more elements on, to make it more accessible as well.
And that accessibility really it is helping everyone.
Correct. Correct. So people without disability, they will, get it much faster. But
Yep.
we are I read, so if you look on the internet now, people with disability, they're struggling much more. So
Mm.
we are reducing that journey or that touch point, maybe half or one third, or one fourth of the
Yeah.
time, we could get that in. So that again, it's speed, because that's how money works. You have to get it done quickly. It's all about speed, your execution and your speed.
I've never thought about some of this stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
So,
okay.
what are your thoughts about digital marketing today and digital accessibility? I mean, I know I'm on Facebook and different things,
Yeah,
and there's so much that you just get, yeah, image, image, image. You with sight don't have those problems,
yeah.
but what are you thinking digital marketers should be doing?
At the moment, what I'm seeing is everybody spreading themselves too thin. So
Yeah,
especially with social media, they do a little bit in Facebook or they do a little bit of LinkedIn or instead
yeah,
of that's why I created this profile as well. So how my strategy is, yes, people might come into Facebook, some people might go into LinkedIn, but if you put your profile, like, your profile, which is your
yeah,
central profile, like, which on
yeah.
your website. So put that profile page on every social media. Get people to come to your profile through the social media instead of getting them engaged at that platform. So if they come to platform to your, let's say, for example, LinkedIn, they'll
Yeah,
try to message you through
yeah.
LinkedIn and that kind of you're spreading yourself thing. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to centralize all social media platforms come into the profile. So if they find your LinkedIn, get them to come to your profile and then get engaged with them so that you have
And
one place to engage from from all platforms.
that also means that it doesn't, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, yeah, they've got to consider the accessibility, like put alt text on images and things,
That's
but it's
right.
not the end of the world because well, they still should be because they're missing out some market there. But going straight to your profile from that, it's
Yeah.
all accessible. Are you incorporating the accessibility into everyone's profile pages when you do it?
With our limited knowledge, whatever we can. So, I'm
Yeah,
not 100% trained yet. So, I try to be as much with my current knowledge. I try to make it as accessible as possible.
yeah,
But, the more I know, the more once I know the criteria and the template of how it should be, we can
yeah.
definitely, and it's an ongoing thing. So even if it's half accessible today, once I learn more, I can easily, make the edits to make it more accessible.
So it's
And
not too
that's,
hard to even incorporate the accessibility.
it's
Once you know how to do it, it's not hard.
not hard, correct. So, and it's ever changing. So, if you change your business strategy or if you want different priorities, because it's in your website, in your profile, it's more easily changeable or customizable compared to social media profiles. We have no control over
Mm,
how the design, how your profile should be, especially LinkedIn. The
mm,
buttons, it's very different for every profile.
mm.
Sometimes I struggle how to connect with that person because the buttons are all over the place. The
Yeah.
connect button, yeah, or sometimes it's the follow button, sometimes it's the connect button. It's a bit all over the place with LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is the worst culprit with accessibility. They're not considering as much accessibility as it should.
No. I'm, now I'm going to go back and look at LinkedIn. Well, listen to LinkedIn now. I'm really curious. I'm going to go and play with it because I suppose I listen and I don't think it's because it's always an issue. So I
It is.
don't think for a normal person what an issue it is.
So with the especially LinkedIn, it's not accessible in the sense it's not consistent. So every
Yeah,
profile I go, I struggled with finding the website, even though it's listed. It's very
yeah,
hard to find what's the website of this person. Sometimes the connect button is hidden in the three dots, and every
mm,
profile is different with LinkedIn. So instead of getting people engaging on a LinkedIn, if they come to your profile, immediately show the link to your profile, let them come to your profile and engage over there. If they want to chat, send a message, get
yeah.
them to the profile, your profile on the website.
And then for the person that's using the to coming into the profile, they're getting
Yeah.
a better service,
Yes,
getting
correct. So,
access to you more quickly,
yes,
and resolving the problem more quickly, whatever the
that's it.
problem is.
Correct. So, and makes it consistent too.
Gee.
So it's a social media profile on your website, and people can access you very quickly.
Oh, I'm fascinated. I'm going back to look at your profile again too,
Yeah,
because I've
please.
gone and looked at it a few times. Because I just find it interesting how you've structured it. Because, like, I've played with it, obviously using voiceover, and the structure of it's really nice because it just flows. I can go flick, 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 and it's logical.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you give to developers, digital marketers? What are the thing what are your takeaways after your experience? What are your takeaways that you would give to people?
I would say, as a business owner, identify how much you're missing out, not serving the people who have disability.
Yeah,
Some people, some businesses might lose out a big chunk of the business when they're not serving the disability people. So I say, as a business owner, do research on how much of the, how much market you could capture by serving the people who has disability. So if you can
yeah,
identify that, and that's when, even with a little investment, you could probably get 10 times back. So, not everybody, every business wants to serve, ideally they should, but that's
yeah,
not their priority. But identifying that first is, how much they're missing out and how much they can serve is the first point to identify.
yeah,
Once they identify that, then you decide how much you want to put in and then scale it up from there. So
yeah,
do the basic, again, it comes to education again, with people like yourself, that's where, that's the work you do, right? So
yeah,
with the education kind of thing, identifying how much they're missing out. And once they do, they approach, do the basic stuff, what you can. And if they're seeing the results, scale it up quick, because this market is underserved. And then, once you get a few in, then it just snowballs over.
You know what, Sujit? Every time I do a podcast, I learn something, and I'm always amazed what I learn. And thank you. I appreciate it. So this is Sujit Menon from pixelgram.digital. Sujit, other than your website, how can people contact you to find out more? And being honest, I really like what Sujit's doing. It is logical, it's efficient, and you know what? People with disability can use it.
That's right.
You know, it just makes sense for us or for everyone. Go to one spot, all the contact details. So how can they find you, Sujit?
My website is pixelgram.digital. However, my
Mm,
profile is Sujit, Sujit .pixelgram.digital.
yeah. So
So just,
I'll put that up for people to go
or,
and have a look at what Sujit's doing. It's very smart.
or Google Sujit CRM
Yeah.
consultant. That's it.
That's
And then
another
you
good
come to my
one.
profile.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
Google Sujit, my name and CRM, you get to my page straight away.
Yeah. And thank you, Sujit, again. Yeah, you've given me some things to think about. So this is the Digital Access Show. Can't tell you what episode number. I don't know if it's 35 or 36. I'm forgetting now. I've given up counting, actually. Look, if you like what we do, please like, subscribe, share. Come along, meet Sujit. He's also a BX networking team leader at East Brisbane as well. And he's just an all-round nice guy. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
So thank you.